goddamn that status quo change. So, yeah, Lupin Ranger 2021 and build 4142. I waited a week because I wanted to see how the paradigm shifts played out with the new revelations and introductions that took place over the last 2 weeks. First off, with Lupat, we have the introduction of Lupin Ranger and Patranger X, the same character named Noel. He is apparently an engineer working with Kogane, I'm forgetting his name, to recover and also modify the Lupin collection for the Lupin Ranger and Patranger's use, but in a way that is playing both sides, so you don't exactly know whose side he's actually on. Or to phrase it differently, to quote Astronema, I'm on my side. He is, and I can't believe I'm saying this pun out loud, the X factor in the relationships between everybody. Because how things keep going is you don't, like I said, you don't exactly know which side he's on, and it seems like he's trying to play both sides against the middle for his own goals, in that he steals the collection pieces off of 2 monsters, there are 3 in total, that he ends up doing, and he either turns them over to the Lupin Ranger or Kogane himself, and is only now getting involved because all the Lupin collection pieces that were previously confiscated by the police have been taken out of the police's hands. But in the process of doing that undercover work, he ended up making reproductions of the VS changers for the police's use. The 3 that the Patranger have, yeah, they were made from studying the technology. The originals were all in the Lupin Ranger's hands, and the trigger machines, none of them originally had the triggers on them. That was, again, Noel's work in, well, basically he's been inviting trouble for everyone. I'm not entirely certain the end goal, as he seems... What I was hoping that Lupat X would do would cause a, more of a unison between the sides, like force them to cooperate, as he's not a police officer, he's not quite a thief, he's sitting in the middle. And you see a bit of that in the more recent episode, where he actually gets Keiichiro to think on his actions a bit and realize you don't have to be going full on for justice, you don't have to be the most trustworthy person to be able to work with them for a greater, grander goal, which has been a significant problem with Keiichiro through this entire series thus far, and how he refuses to do so when in any time it involves the Lupin Ranger, who, as I keep stressing, are thieves, but are not actually breaking the freaking law. I don't understand his inability to get this, nor him forcing his team members to, like, go along with his nonsense. First episode, though, Noel introduces himself by calling out Kairi and doing a bunch of flips, and then suddenly he has everybody's cell phones. He does not get in within 2 feet of any person he steals the phones of. That is literally impossible, and it's kind of a bigger issue with the character in that it seems like he's trying to outsmart everyone. The show is making him seem like he's actually the smartest man in the room and playing each other, and yet the show keeps failing to really back him up on that. Another example of this is later in the second half of the episode, he battles the Lupin Ranger for a Lupin collection piece he's retrieved, but it's solely for the purpose of tricking the Patranger into thinking he's actually an ally with how he recovers the piece from them, and yet he's not the one that returns it, so he doesn't actually show himself as trustworthy anymore to the Lupin Ranger, so now he's got, or at least he should have them on their ass about that, considering he never gave back the collection piece like he should have. Instead, just giving it straight to... Actually, not even straight giving it to Kogane. He betrays him as well in order to get information out of him, which he's likely not to be sharing with the Lupin Ranger and whatever the long game everybody's playing. He's kind of a ham, too, with how he introduces himself, but that's kind of par for the course for 6 Rangers, and they have a bit of the leeway to do that. His mode changing, though, between Lupin X and Patranger X, I kind of like. In fact, they call it an X change. Yes, they did the pun. They did the bad pun. I like both of the outfits, though. The the Patranger X look for him looks like a cross between Ryu Commander and Deca Master from Deca Ranger, which honestly I think that would have worked better, or at least aspects of it would have worked just as well, if not better, when amalgamated with Deca Master. But Deca Master was done the days before they did the long jacket thing for Sentai members, or because that really more started with more recent Kamen Riders that just then got over-adapted into Super Sentai for it. But nonetheless, that looks good. And he is a more physically powerful fighter of Lupat X's 2 forms, whereas Lupin Ranger X just has this overdone thick vest, which gives him high defensive rating, even though he gets the sword while Patranger X just has his personal weapon convert into, I think, something like a billy club or tonfa or jute. That's what it was. It was a jute. So it's not exactly as physically powerful or imposing. His changer, though, being his vehicle, I think one of the other Super Sentai members has done that. It's not coming from the top of my head, but fully converts into the main body of his trains with 2 additional VS machines, eventually being converted into the limb parts for the full combination, but we're not at that point in the series yet where they get to show that off. No, they instead spent both episodes with him playing support to the larger Megazord combinations of the Lupin Ranger and Patranger as he tried to gain their allegiance. And like I said, backfired in reality, but in the show, apparently everybody's stupid enough to fall for it. I had been hoping with Lupat X's introduction that the show the show would start moving towards actually uniting the team for the back end, in that he would help to settle the animosity that's formed up due to Keiichiro's idiocy, and yet I don't see that happening, at least not in the near future, as right now he seems to just be furthering the antagonism between the two sides and playing his own game with all the pieces. Admittedly, with him being an engineer of all the equipment, that does explain a lot of things. And Good Striker is apparently a friend of his, but as I addressed in the episode before Noel's debut, Good Striker is a terrible judge of character. Hilltop and Kogane also knowing him, and Kogane saying he's a servant of the Lupin Ranger, the Arsene Lupin family, and Hilltop saying he's an undercover officer. Both of those could be true. Both of those could be mutually exclusive. We are not quite certain where on the double agent side he falls, but from his actions in double-crossing the Patranger repeatedly, I'm leaning towards him being on the Lupin Ranger's side in this. Why? Because he reveals that the police getting the trigger machines and the VS changers that he made was unintentional. They confiscated them from him and sent them to Keiichiro Sakuya and Tsukasa for their use, meaning it just all over reinforces the point that the Patranger have no actual role or stake in this story, which is a massive, massive narrative mistake. Like, I can't even begin to countenance that, but on the other hand, it makes sense with how the Patranger are constantly shoved to the side or made to look terrible, so the Lupin Rangers would make better. Would look better for the audience. And really, that has been a big failure and flaw in the storytelling for this, as you can't do a competent versus movie where you constantly degrade one side of the conflict. And you can't have them constantly be at odds with each other. You have to have them working together in concert, even if they're not exactly the same team or from disparate or have conflicting ideologies. The point of it is to have the small conflict, find common ground, and have them then battle the monsters that should take larger priority. This series has constantly refused to do that, and it's frustrating that Lupat X's introduction only seems to be furthering that along instead of bridging the sides. Though considering the next episode is supposed to be Noel assisting in Sake's attempts to woo Umika, despite knowing that Umika is a phantom thief and Lupin Ranger Yellow, it might be part of the longer game that he's playing, but I'm not so certain about that from everything I've seen of the character thus far. Ugh. So yeah, continuance of the status quo of irritation. Build, however... Okay. Toei, we get it. You don't like dads. You don't like parenting. You think parents are evil, at the same time you pander to them and make your product less accessible for a wider demographic. Stop making the dads in Kamen Rider evil. Like, you've done that so many times as of late, and I think it's because of Drive. Gold Drive, Professor Banjo was a big hit with people, even though for some reason Drive didn't get the respect it deserves. But again, I can credit that to the overhyping of Gaim. So Drive didn't get a fair shake with a lot of people. But regardless, they've been doing the evil father thing for a few series in a row now. Kronos being another example. Not exactly in Ghost, but Spectre's dad was a scumbag, that kind of thing. It's like, it's been oh, it even goes farther back on that. Shiro and Ryuki, his parents were scumbags both sides. Kabuto, Kagami. Kagami's dad was a collaborator with the villains, though he was only collaborating with the villains in the sense that he was trying to undermine them from within. Hibiki. Main character, I'm forgetting his... Asumidachi's dad is a scumbag. Blade. Hirosei's dad was one of the villains, except not, because the dad that showed up was a cloned robot that was originally meant to protect her. Pterodopont, main villain, evil bad guy of Philip, or dad of Philip was bad guy. I can't talk today. So yeah, there's a recurrence of this, and damn it, we did not need this from Shinobu, Takumi Katsuragi, aka Sento Kiryu's father, being actually a villain and cooperating with Evolt. This raises so many questions. So many questions. Why? Because he has needed Sento for the build project to even get Evolt to evolve back to his main form, when he had Shinobu working with him all along. It's been revealed that the Rider system is all based on the research of Shinobu himself, meaning everything that Evolt got from Sento, he could have more easily and collaboratively gotten from Shinobu himself, so what was the need of the deception? I mean, yeah, you needed to complete the full bottles, so you needed him until all the Toto bottles were filled up, but you set all of that in motion as well for collection and purification from Misora. So I'm blanking on why you need him to develop it further as more than as a test sub. Okay, yeah, you get the test subject angle, but part of the test subject angle is Sento building stuff for Evolt's own use. Hell, the idea behind Sento fixing the Evolve driver was the components were given to him by Evolt, then Sento ended up hiding them or putting them away somewhere in pieces when he was building the bottle purification machine, and Evolt needed them back to regain his main form. But if Shinobu's alive, then why didn't he just put it together for him? Hell, Shinobu had to know how to make one, or had the resources to make an entirely new one, because he built... That is the origin of the second Evolt driver that Mad Rogue has been making use of. It has to be. It's the only way that makes sense on how there is a second Evolt driver at all. If Shinobu isn't dead, then why would Takumi have had the research notes left by him for him to even try and attack Evolt in the first place and try and kill Banjo? Why was this not brought up when Takumi was back with full memories when, Sento was suppressed? And in fact, why is this all... This actually also raises the question of why Takumi suppressed the last 10 years of his memories when he brought back Sento, if he knew all this big, harmful stuff about his father and him actually being alive all this time. It raises so many questions now that could have been answered had the fucking war arc not dragged on so long. You don't have enough time to actually answer and explain this twist as opposed to all the questions it now results in you asking. Why would you do this? Why would you repeat this cliche in this show when it was clear that you didn't need it by what Evolt's new strategy actually is? Create the highest level of Smash you can, and then harvest their essence into this 7th Pandora panel, which he's going to just use to bioform the planet. Like, you could have had it written as Shinobu was killed by Evolt after Shinobu figured out what Evolt was doing in trying to create this 7th Pandora panel off of all the lost bottles that Shinobu created in the first place as an alternative to the full bottles, which were which required, human hosts to hold the nebula gas catalyst for making the full bottles. You have the lost bottles, you don't need to go through that kind of refinement to get a usable system out of it. Of course, now Evolt is using humans as hosts for the the Lost Bottle's powers to advance them to a more purified state, but that's obviously not what was originally intended by them, but further enhancement Evolt's going through that he could have actually helped set in motion. It's just, again, so many questions. Why are they not being answered? And hell, why are they trying to harvest the Kamen Riders into this when they know that trying to subvert them or subdue them for playing host to the Smash is a ridiculously bad idea, as they can fight back and might not be able to be controlled by them or develop the Lost Bottle the way they want to its final degree. Hell, even to this point, next episode that's going to be airing, Misora is going to be kidnapped and injected with the Lost Bottle essence to try and advance it even further, making her into a short-term controlled enemy. Furthermore, this asks the question of why these bottles are even being advanced or evolved in the first place if Bill Genius's power allows them to negate any nebula gas in the host in the first place. It's like he negates all the harmful matter in it, and the harmful matter is pretty much what they need from the Lost Bottle to alchemize their new versions of it. Or is it just the merger between the highest level of Clone Smash and the host body with the Lost Bottle into the Lost Smash that they even need? So it's not even that they might need that specific host, they just need to fuse the errant Smash into the bottle to get enough concentrated nebula gas to work. I have no idea. There's so much they're not explaining as they're still continuing to focus on fight scenes. It's like you have this setting with all this good lore, but you're not using it effectively. You're in fact almost as if you're tearing it down when you're at the end game, where everything should be explained right now. You shouldn't be teasing an extension of a mystery when you're pretty much in the end game. The show has at most 8 episodes left. And the final battles usually take a few episodes to clear up, so let's ballpark and say that they have another 4 free episodes before Evolt has to be in his endgame, and we have no idea what his real endgame is. It's like, I've been getting more and more frustrated with the show lately because it feels like it's not explaining or justifying what's going on and what Evolt's real plan is here. Hell, he decides that it's going to be the end of the separation of the country by the divides the sky wall and the nations by taking the form of the Sento Prime Minister that got killed way, way back and saying, yeah, war's over, we're done here, we're all going to be one united country, but the Kamen Riders are our enemies, so we're going to beat them up and get stuff from them, and it's like, point? You're isolating them, yeah, but is there an actual point to changing the status quo? I mean, they're going to pretty much fight without concern for that because, you know, you're not going to follow through on that at all. It's like, that hasn't mattered to the story for quite some time now. Was there a reason for that? Hello? So yeah, I've been becoming more hostile to build as of late. Probably in part for the arc fatigue, where, you know, there's so much they could have done instead of dragging it out for as long as they did. Really, I think a lot of this could be better explained by Shinobu actually being dead and Evolt having revived him by some means to make use of his brain or something, which I think might be the route they're going for with this, because it kind of feels like that's something this show would do in all of its mad science nonsense. But right now, Shinobu has a spare build driver and is using Sento's base form bottles as basically an enemy and to try and get something from the team. I have no idea what he's going for. I really don't. Otherwise, the only thing of note here is Banjo has been regaining memories of Evolt's actions, though it's not been the best handled because they're mainly flashbacks to stuff we've already seen bits and pieces of. But the thing that was noted this time was the original Dragonful bottle was recovered from Mod Rogue, and when he made contact with it, it went silver. At the same time, he had one of these visions. The Silver Dragon Full bottle, incidentally, is something that'll be tied into the movie, and something Sento uses to create Kamen Rider build cross dragon form, which is basically just another sparkling bottle, and from the preview information, has a left side that is based on Krusty Dragon, and has a right side that's based on Rabbit Rabbit, so who knows how that's going to go. Since the movie won't be out here for months yet. So yeah, I'm continuing to voice my annoyance at how Build's been going lately. Still decent show, but I really hope they can, like, follow up on this so it doesn't seem as irritating right now that they're not answering crap and just going for fight scene after fight scene. Depending on things go in the next week or two, I might end up having to delay more of these vlogs. Prime Week is coming up for my job, meaning I'm ending up having a lot of extra overtime and additional days added to my schedule, so I might be able to do next week, but maybe not the week after with these vlogs. We'll see how that goes. Oh, in the meantime, Kamen Rider Blade reviews are beginning to be released this Saturday. You'll get the intro vid in part 1, and then I have the rest of them completed to run through August. It's going to be 6-7 videos, depending on how you count my usual intro video spiel. So, look forward to that. I'll see y'all later.